Good morning. Welcome. This is Mentality Meets. My name is Peter Larkum, and I created Mentality last year to try and help all of us understand our mental health a little bit better. You see, it's not just mental health illnesses, it's mental health. And there are good days, there are bad days, life. And more people during this whole COVID-19 are experiencing their mental health for the first time. Yeah, they've had good days and bad days, but it started to linger. And this is becoming poor mental health for a lot of people. So Mentality Meets is just us talking about mental health and life as it is at the moment, and just trying to see if there's any way we can navigate through this together. Well, I hope you enjoy it, because this is Mentality Meets. So let's start off with a general health warning. So welcome everybody. We have no idea what your personal history is around mental health. We don't know whether you are experiencing mental health illnesses at the moment, whether you've experienced mental health illnesses in the past. We don't know whether you are supporting someone or the impact that this time is having on your life. So we just want to let you know that we are going to be as open and as honest as we can be and raw in this topic. We don't quite know where the conversation has gone. John and I have been chatting just before now, and in all honesty, it could go in any direction. So we don't really know what we're going to cover today. We're just going to ask some questions and see how it flows. But that just means that we need you to be very aware of your own personal vulnerability. Okay, so just be aware of what's going on inside of you. And if you need to access some help and support, you can either send me a private message on the chat and I'll get back in contact with you. Oh, chat bars, we need to do that. But also, there are a couple of agencies out there. So the first one that we want to raise is the Hub of Hope, which is www.hubofhope.co.uk. It's a fantastic resource that you can put your postcode in and it will give you all the mental health provision for your local area. Okay, so if you're supporting people in the other part of the country, then you can put in their postcode and find the support that's available for them. We've also got the Samaritans on 116123. You've also got a text service where you can text SHOUT to 85258, and there are lots of other help and support out there. So just look after yourselves as we go through this conversation. But John, can you just take a moment? Oh, hang on, chat bar. So chat bar, at the bottom of the screen, you'll find a little box where it says chat, and you can then chat to everybody on the screen. So first and foremost, what's your name? And I want something about colour. Give me your favourite colour that you can see in your room at the moment. So what is the favourite colour that you can see in your room at the moment? And also, what is your name? So, for example, Pete, and I can see... My room's an absolute mess. You know what? I'm going to go for this. Hold on. So this. I've taken over my son's bedroom in this, so this is now my kind of working studio. But this is his baby grow, so this is kind of what he has to wear when he goes to bed. Anyway, so what's your favourite colour? Where are you in the world? So morning everyone, morning. Andy, hi Andy. And blue is the favourite colour in your room. Emmy from Chester, sky blue shed. Not in your room, surely. That must be out a window, I'm hoping. John, you've got green going on. Danny, a green plant. Morning, Danny. Marsha has got cobalt blue. I love the explanation of that. But it's not just blue, it's cobalt blue. It's like an M&S kind of advert, isn't it? Chandy's got blue. Joe's got orange. My random pink hair, says Carol. Awesome. And Steve says, morning everyone. Steve from Chatham. Lovely yellow. Thank you, card. Awesome. Brilliant. You know what? Stuff going on in the background. So guys, thank you and welcome. John, can you give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself?
Hi Peter. Yep, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jon Salmon. It's wonderful to be here to chat with you, Peter, about all things mental health, I guess. Yeah, as Peter said, we'll probably go in some different directions, some things about, I guess, currently what we're all kind of facing at the moment under lockdown, and kind of dip into my kind of past experience as well. Yeah, so I guess since kind of 2016, 2017 have started to kind of become more of a mental health campaigner, and you know, having had problems when I was younger with my own mental health, and also within my family. So it's been, I guess, as a bloke, I guess definitely it's been something that has been very hard over the years for me to talk about my feelings. And yeah, I guess it's actually been the last 2 or 3 years where I've realized the real benefits of talking more openly, not just to help others, but also to help myself. And yeah, I guess yeah, we can kind of take it from there, really, Peter.
No, awesome. I mean, so with all the different people that we've been talking to over the last few weeks, it's through Speakers Collective. And as a member of Speakers Collective, all of us have kind of lived experience of mental health illnesses. Mine, not so much. I'm much more from the training process rather than the lived experience process. But kind of I suppose kind of what I wanted to ask is there anything specific you would like to talk about? But I kind of want to gate crash that question because there's something I want to talk about, which I kind of want your view on and your perspective on, because I don't know whether I'm in a healthy headspace with what I'm feeling at the moment. And so let me just kind of try and give you the scenario. So I was reading through all the posts and everything that you got on LinkedIn and everything else like that. And there was a lady who obviously works for an estate agent, so she's kind of like a property manager and everything else like that. And bless her, she was just kind of talking about how she's really struggled during this lockdown process and her mental health journey and kind of what has worked for her and all these things. And it was great, but it was also just a little bit twee in that it was okay. So I can't even explain myself, but I guess I just kind of thought it would be like me as someone who's been working in mental health for years, turning around and saying, you know what, property management, it's just about buying and selling houses, isn't it? And almost kind of being really flippant about it. And I know she wasn't meaning to be flippant about mental health, but there was just this element of, now that she's experiencing bad days or had some bad days, she now understands mental health. And I don't know why, but there was something inside me that just kind of riled a little bit, because it seems to be, again, a little bit of a bandwagon. And I don't see mental health as a bandwagon, but it does, it did feel like that. And
yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are. Put me in my place if I...
Well, I guess, Peter, you've been doing incredible work training the nation with mental health first aid, and I guess I've had over the years similar kind of feelings at times. Whether it's reading something online or in the paper or a magazine where maybe a celebrity's coming out and talking about mental health, and it just so happens to coincide with the release of a single or a TV show that they're in. And and I've kind of looked at that, what's their real motivation? But I think more than most is actually to embrace everybody that is willing to have any conversation, whether that's on their LinkedIn, on their Facebook, or over WhatsApp, that everybody has the opportunity to talk about mental health. It shouldn't be down to people that just have lived experience that feel that they have to speak up when that can be incredibly difficult. So whether it's an estate agent or a celebrity or a friend that wants to talk about it, I think that is fundamentally a great thing, because we've had decade after decade and stigma that has stopped anybody from wanting to talk about this subject around mental health. We all have mental health. We've all got a right to have an opinion on it. But just like selling a house, or I need a solicitor, I need somebody with training and advice to buy and sell houses, just like with first aid. If I may have basic understanding of first aid to put a plaster on myself or my child if I've cut myself, but if it was anything worse than that, I need to go to professionals. So I completely get where you're coming from, and sometimes you can maybe think that's the reason why somebody is talking about mental health may not always be foremost the reason they're doing it, but I would always embrace and just congratulate people for talking about mental health and taking that stigma away. And secondly, I guess the bit where I do worry is where people are probably trying to give advice, which could be damaging. And that's when it comes slightly tricky. And that's why, you know, resources like Every Mind Matters, that's it's on the NHS website, and being able to signpost to like places like the Hub of Hope is really important. So I think sometimes if you do see things that it could be a bit jarring where you're doing all of that professional training, yeah, maybe you do have to bite your lip a bit. But I think the time to kind of like sometimes to say something is to maybe to signpost people that within that conversation where they can actually get the right kind of help, as you say, if they are going through a tough time, or somebody they know is.
Thank you, because I think that's really important. And okay, question out to everyone else: is it a good or a bad thing? Is mental health another kind of, or has it become a bit of a bandwagon during this process because we're all experiencing feelings that we've not been having before? Are you glad that there are more questions and more conversations going on about it, or do you feel like it seems to be the trendy thing at the moment? Gosh, that feels like 3 questions all in one. But that's what I want to just kind of throw out to you guys out there. So again, on your chat bars, just let us know what your thoughts. Carol's saying it's a really personal thing, and you never really know what's going on behind the words. People can be reaching out in different ways. I think that's really important, Carol. And it's best not to judge people. And I feel like I've totally kind of fallen into that judging process in this. And I probably need to get over myself a little bit. But that's all right. So any other thoughts? Stick them down. So Jon, I also wanted to ask you, as a fellow dad, how this whole process has impacted on you, because I know that you've had to put work to one side a little bit and really focus in on the homeschooling much more than I have. So my wife, for me, is doing the majority of the homeschooling. But how has it impacted on you and on your business and everything else like that?
Yeah, for me, yeah, I guess I saw the impact quite early on, from a work perspective. So I run my own business, and I also do some consultancy, which involves sometimes some travel. And the projects that I had lined up this year, I could start to see, you know, before the lockdown came, I could see delays happening on some really exciting, really great projects, which were just saying, oh, actually, we're not sure if we're going to have to be working from home. This person's off sick. And so really early on, I saw that kind of impact. And then talking to other people that were living in different countries where, you know, in Italy, for example, where it's just been absolutely shocking that the measures they put in place. I kind of knew quite early on that even before the kids' schools closed, that it was going to be really tough for everybody. And I felt that I really experienced that quite early on through the loss of work. And that was, you know, again, one of my coping mechanisms at that time when I feel really stressed and anxious is just to go to bed. You know, it's just like the safe place is just like detach, take a bit of time off. And that kind of gave me time to process my thoughts, try to be a bit more rational. And again, it's been a process. Once the kids did break up all came back from school, my wife works 4 days a week. She's got quite a senior role, and we just had to have that frank conversation that, right, okay, well, I'll look after the kids Monday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday become my kind of days to focus on work. And I can try and, you know, get where I can respond to emails during the week, but also be really upfront with people and just say, you know what, I'm just not going to be able to get back to you properly during this period of time. And while the loss of work has definitely been a real challenge, the one wonderful thing, or two wonderful things to kind of come out of this, is that my wife probably led did the most amount of homework usually at home, and now I'm the one who's spending more time with my kids. I have to kind of come up with a structure each day of the things we want to do. And I've really enjoyed that time with my kids, and then trying to tell myself probably I'll never get this opportunity to spend the time with them like this and get to know them in a different kind of way. And you know, Joe's on this. I see Joe's here as well, and kind of I've always said to Joe many a time that this phone, through work and everything, I spend too much time on this device. And Joe, for Christmas present, bought me a book about, like, to try and stop, to get away from my phone kind of distractions. And bizarrely, this period of lockdown, I'm using my phone less. And that was something that I was really stuck to, because when I'm with my kids, if I bring my phone out, all structure breaks down. So the two really good things that have kind of come out of this has been being able to spend a bit more time with my kids and help with their learning, and yeah, switching off social media, switching off the news, and I guess kind of cocooning myself really to kind of protect my mental health from all what's really going on out in the world, because what is happening at the moment is really unsettling. And actually, for me, having two other little people to really focus on is actually a great distraction from what's going on out in the real world.
Yeah, no, amazing. Another thing which we felt, and I say we, probably my wife more than I, because she kind of sees all the other parents posting all the great stuff that they're doing, which social media is a little bit of a culprit for, because we only ever share the really good stuff that's going on. But she's like, people have got these projects going on and their house is looking wonderful and they've decorated 17 of their bedrooms and just kind of this chaos. And she's like, literally, I get to the end of the day and the house is chaos. The garden is chaos. And I'm just glad that I've got to the end of the day. I said, I can't even begin to think about projects or kind of doing more than just managing and coping through this situation. And I sometimes feel, have you kind of come across that guilt feeling that you should have kind of picked up 10 new hobbies and read 101 books, or I don't know, but you know what I mean? There's this kind of feeling that we should be using this lockdown time to become the best version of ourselves possible. Whereas actually some of us are literally just coping from one day to the next.
Yeah, I think we know the reality really is that behind any Instagram post or tweet of something that is incredible, and there's probably been a lot of sweat and tears behind that picture, even if it is an amazing cake or something. We know the reality is, especially if little people have been involved in making it, it's not going to have been straightforward. So, and we read a lot into images that people post. Sometimes we don't read the description underneath it, and we take in probably our own opinions on that image. So yeah, it's tough. And I think if you're in a bad space mentally, that can have a big impact as well, and feeling like you're not achieving, that you're not doing enough. So it is kind of a balance. And I something that I did a while ago with my social feed anyway, is I only kind of follow people that inspire or educate and sometimes challenge my opinion. So there may be some people that I may not agree with, but I think also you have the ability to control what you consume. And so if there is somebody that's really annoying you because every day that they're saying, hey, these are the 10 things that you must do today, and I've already done my 10th and it's only 10 a.m, mute them. Don't, listen, the people that make you feel good. And I think more now than ever, we need to surround us with people that are going to be supportive, and just get us through the day. We all need to celebrate once we get to the end of the day, don't we?
Yes, totally true. So let's just kind of go back to the chat. So we got so lots of evidence for mental health still isn't perceived as health. So bandwagon or not, it's necessary. And if people are expressing more anxiety due to this pandemic than ever before, because people rarely talk about this kind of stuff, There is still a bit of a stigma around people still finding it hard to talk, says Carol. And Danny says, I think any conversation is good for awareness. Even if people don't share the same opinions, it should hopefully promote debate and conversation. And lift the conversation to mainstream rather than hidden. And Angela says normalising conversation about mental health is ace and long overdue. Carol also says it's been a sequence of emotions, from panic to anger to meltdown, to now knowing not much you can do, but still having this whole wave of emotions. And Andy's put, good that people feel able to be open. A lot of what people are feeling now may be in the range of normal, if I dare use that word. Very natural to feel down at this time. It doesn't mean people are ill, and I think that's really important. Is that we're trying to talk about mental health, not just mental health illnesses, and this ebbing and flowing and the journey that it is. And John says, I agree. Any chance to raise awareness is a good thing. The more, the merrier. As John says, the real challenge is when people start to become experts. I guess that's what I'm fighting.
Yeah,
is when people think that they are able to, I don't know, kind of become the expert on this. And anyway, so again, agree with Andy. Me too, can't absorb anymore. Scouts for us is a lot of pressure right now. Yeah, so kind of do the after school stuff, which used to go on, and the people kind of giving good intentions of what you can do with your kids, but again, it's just another thing. And here's another thing, and here's something else that you should be doing. Zoom fatigue has set in, says Steve. Here too. I feel like I've had more Zoom conversations than I've ever had before. One of the good things, though, is that I've met more of my LinkedIn connections than ever before over Zoom. Information overload is what's going on. So we've got 10 minutes before the end, John, and I wanted to dig into another question, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I mean, your kind of public mental health awareness journey kind of started when you were with the Royals and the Head Together campaign, 2016, 2017, where you shared about your own mental health journey and your dad dying by suicide and the impact that had on you. And I have had, so one of my posts out on LinkedIn was just 3 conversations over the weekend with people who are really struggling. And it's not an age thing, and it's not a gender thing. It's not a demographic thing. And I wanted to ask, and again, this is probably a little bit pointy, so you can knock this back to me if you need to. But when you kind of were talking about your dad completing suicide and your then emotional journey and your mental health journey and the impact that had, I mean, we are experiencing a time like never before. And I wanted to ask, since then to now, have you found that those emotions and that mental health journey and the illness side of things creeps back? Is it a shadow that is always there, or does it come back in more significant situations? And I suppose kind of the question I really want to ask, and again, feel yes or no, so hard to do this, but have you, in this COVID-19, kind of found yourself as a dad struggling again with your mental health, and where your thoughts take you?
Yeah, so yeah, brilliant question, Peter. I guess to kind of give a bit of context, yeah, sadly my dad died when I was a teenager, and so we'd had a, by all intents and purposes, a pretty straightforward upbringing. I'm the youngest. I've got 2 older brothers, and my dad found himself in a place, I guess, his business, it was like the recession. He'd changed jobs. I think he was okay in the job that he'd moved into, but it probably wasn't what he had set out to do in life. And we had moved house, and a number of, I guess, different situations had caused him to then have a very deep kind of depression, which is very hard to see as a teenager when somebody, your dad, I guess, that has always been very, a school governor and been very active. And we didn't really, when he died, we didn't know really what to do. We hadn't really told anybody that he had been ill, and we didn't get any counselling or support for our feelings. We just, tried to do the best we could to carry on, and bury those feelings. And what happened was, I was actually in that period of time was, I wouldn't say I'm not particularly, I didn't have smart, education wise, but during that period of time, I did well enough to get to university, and that was a great escape for me. It was away from home. But what happened once I finished university and started my first job, I took on too much pressure within the work environment. I was working hard. It was the start of the internet. It was all really exciting. And I woke up one morning, I guess having a psychotic episode, which was kind of brought on by stress and probably not dealing with my dad's death, that meant I was sectioned in hospital for over, in and out, for over a year. But I was able, to come out the other end with the support of friends, family, experts, doctors, and it was from 2001 onwards that I had learnt, I guess, more about myself. I've been able to kind of look, was more aware of the triggers when I was getting maybe into that space, because when I was in hospital, I hadn't seen any of that coming. People around me may have noticed that I was maybe acting differently, but I wasn't aware of it. And I guess one of the life lessons I've learned now is that I can pick up a little bit sometimes on those signals where either maybe I'm trying to do too much, or I'm not sleeping great, or I haven't gone for a run. There's bits, and definitely coming up to kind of lockdown and coronavirus and seeing what was happening there, I definitely felt, if you can tune in, you feel, what, when you're feeling really anxious, and there's certain signs, things that you can bury and not talk about it. But again, things like the Speakers Collective that we're kind of involved in, having that sort of support group of people around you, or a mate, or as you say, somebody that you don't know, texting to shout, or the Samaritans, is really important that you talk to somebody earlier. The earlier the better, when you start to feel something isn't right. And yeah, I guess that's it. It's that kind of self-care, putting yourself first, before your kids, before your partner, before anybody else. You've got to look after yourself, and you can't help others if you can't look after yourself. So as I said earlier in the conversation, I was feeling really stressed about money, about work, about food. Were we going to have enough food? Have I had the virus? Am I going to get it? All these things, all these emotions that we've all experienced over the last 6-7 weeks have been intense. But it's to take a step back. It really is more important than ever that we look after ourselves, that we be as kind as possible to ourselves. Whatever thoughts that we've got going on in our head, be kind to yourself. Try and obviously be kind to others as well is really important, but don't put the pressure on yourself, and try and give you a reward. Kind of more than ever, you should be rewarding yourself. Just as you say, just celebrate getting through the day, like whether that's pumping up some music that gets you energized and having a little silly dance around the room, or taking 10 minutes out to read something that's really escapism. Whatever it is for you, more than ever, you've got to carve out that time for yourself during the day, because that will improve your mental well-being.
Thank you, Jon. So we're literally kind of a minute away from the end, and I feel like I kind of I don't want to lose that environment. So question out, back out to the group. When you begin to feel yourself kind of going down that dip, whether it's kind of the emotions or the feelings, but you can tell that you're going into a bit more of a negative headspace, what do you do? What is it that you kind of turn to? Like Jon said, is it a book? Is it a piece of music that you kind of throw on? Do you go and get into deep breathing exercises or meditation? What is it that you do? Because I just want to explore that. And so Danny says, go back to my shed. I'm kind of hoping that's not the shed that's in Emmy's garden from earlier. Go back to the shed, engage with meditating, gratitude, a gratitude flood, like it. Write as much as I can that I'm grateful for. What a great place to start. Just to kind of be thinking about and starting from a place of thanks, speaking openly with people. Again, shed is a good one. Okay, Carol, Steve says that for the case for me, my anxiety is that one sign is that I start to talk really fast. I do that all the time. That's my indication, and I need the self-care. So I go out for a run, do some meditating and some breathing work, and listen to 70s and 80s music. Kaboom. Chandy says mindfulness. Danny says sleep, hydrate, exercise, and look at my diet. That's what you mean by shed. Sorry, got it now. Sorry, my bad. Spooks. Now on series 6. Love it. And then same as Steve, when the anxiety builds, and breathing is really important. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at 11:30 to 31, which means that this is the official ending of our Mentality Meets for today. Thank you so much for your time. And if you need to get away, this is the opportunity to do so. But I just want to say thank you so much to Jon Salmon. You've been absolutely brilliant. Your honesty and openness has been great. So that's been Jon Salmon. I've been Pete Larkum. This has been Mentality Meets. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Take care. God bless. And bye-bye now. Okay, so that was the official ending. If anyone does want to stick around, then Jon, I just want to say thank you so much.
That's okay, no problem at all.
Is there any final thoughts that you can think of as we move away from this session now and back on into this week coming?
Final thoughts as in just getting through this week, or things coming up, or?
Final thoughts, what can we do to help us get through this week?
Well, after this, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. And then get back to the kids. I think for me the one thing I'm going to try and start to do that I still haven't done is kind of read a bit more, and do some reading, and again try and get out to do a bit of exercise. There's lots of nominations going on around at the moment where you have to nominate 5 people for this, and sometimes that's brilliant, but also it can be a bit like, I've got to nominate some other people and all of that. And I've got a couple of things where I've been nominated to do bits and pieces. So I'll try and go for a quick cycle if I can for a great guy that's raising money for mental health charities called Dean Stott. So those are, I guess try and get that balance right. And it's all very short-term kind of plans at the moment. Yeah,
it's very much kind of get to the end of the day. It's very difficult to be planning for the future at the moment. And I think that's what I personally am finding tough, is that I like to know what's going on a few weeks in advance. And at the moment, my diary is empty. And so that whole kind of planning, normally I'd have my diary stacked for at least 2, maybe 3 months, and know that kind of stuff is going to be coming in. And that whole kind of getting from one day to the next. So I think for me, what I'm going to try and do this week is I'm going to try and get some time in my diary to go back out in the garden. I started the garden in earnest. We did a massive section of the garden, which is now all weedy again. That's how long I've left it. So I felt a bit gutted by that. But yeah,
we'll take a picture before, and there you've got the before and after.
That'd be a good idea. Great idea. Well, guys, I'm going to say thank you very much. It's now 11:34, so thank you so much for your time today. Do look after yourselves. Take care and stay safe. Ciao.
Okay. Thanks,
Jon.
Bye.